On today's Technobabble, the people you need to do an effective live stream.
This is Tech No Babble, your weekly source for church video and graphics news, perspectives, tips, and tricks. And now here's your host, Paul Clifford.
Hi, and welcome again to another episode of Technobabble. This is the show where every week we talk all about using video and graphic design in the church. My name is Paul Allen Clifford, and I'm your host. I'd love for you to ask your questions, by the way. So head on over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/contact. There you can find all my contact information, or if you're watching the video, just go ahead and leave your comment below. That's perfectly fine as well. So I've talked about some of the reasons why your church shouldn't live stream. I've talked about some of the equipment that you need to live stream. But let's talk about the people, because I think that far too often churches forget this piece, or they try and make do with much less than they need, and that's really a problem. So let's first talk about the number of people that you need. Really, for an effective live stream, I don't think you can get by with less than 3 dedicated people. Now, maybe you can just kind of barely wing it with 1, but I really wouldn't recommend it. A lot of churches are doing this. They're setting up a camera in the back of the auditorium, starting the live stream and forgetting about it until the end of service, and sometimes even then they keep it rolling because they've forgotten about it. That's really no good. So I don't want you to do that. I want you instead to try and think of the people that can make this a success. So when I say 3 people bare minimum, I mean, now assuming you don't have people already, I mean 2 camera operators and a director. So that's 3 people. Some churches already have those people in place, and it's just a matter of adding a responsibility to what they're already doing. Let's say you have IMAG already. Let's say you have a DVD ministry already, where you're already creating this stuff, and it's just a matter of adding in the responsibility of starting and stopping the stream. That's fine, but that's the exception. That's not what I'm talking about here. Why do I want 2 camera people and a director as a bare minimum? Well, you can get different shots, and then you can switch between those shots, but you can only do that if you have someone manning each of the cameras, and if you have someone controlling the switcher. I've seen churches that they'll put 1 camera on a lockdown shot, and then they will take another person and have them both direct and run the secondary camera. That's really more than a person should be doing. When you're dealing with this kind of production, what you want is someone who's only thinking the thoughts of, how can I follow the pastor? How can I make sure that the pastor doesn't get outside of the frame? Can I tilt down? Do I need to focus? Things like that. While you're have a director who's thinking the thoughts, okay, what shot should I take next? Where should I move the story along? Because really, doing video is just telling a story. So that's something that I want you to consider, is how you can move the story along. So those are the bare minimums. But I do think that there are a couple of other positions that are really helpful. It's nice to have a producer position, someone who can do the communication between the leadership of the church, and the team that's actually doing the live stream. This should not be the someone in the church's leadership, by the way, because they're often tempted to come in and say, fix this right now, and it might not be a good time to fix it right now. So it's much better to have someone as an intermediary to say, okay, we'll get on that in just a second, or I'm waiting for him to get off of this shot, or hey, so-and-so, when you get a chance, can you do this? As opposed to having a discussion, and while you're having the discussion, things are breaking and you can't fix them because you're having a discussion. Do you see how that's a bit of a problem? Also, it's nice to have an operator who's operating ProPresenter or Media Shout or Easy Worship or whatever worship software you're using specifically for the live stream, because your live stream isn't necessarily going to have exactly the same needs as your regular congregation. So it could be that you don't need to put up a full screen of the lyrics during worship, but a lower third would be nice. So there are some advantages to having a dedicated operator specifically for the live stream. It's also great to have a specific sound person. Now, I've talked about getting better sound for your live stream before, and I'm a big fan of having a dedicated sound person in a dedicated space where they're not hearing the audio naturally occurring in the room, but they're able to remix it. I recognize that most churches aren't able to do this, but it is really nice to have. Another possibility is to have the person who's running the monitor mix do that same thing, where they can kind of run the mix for the online campus as if it is a mix for a monitor. So that's another possibility and something that maybe you can do. It's absolutely the case that most churches will just have their main audio engineer add that in and add in an ambient mic. That's an okay way of doing it. It's just not ideal. So keep that in mind. Now, where are you going to find all these additional people? Well, for camera people, look around at the shutterbugs in your church. You'll probably find that you have a lot of still photographers that at events, they show up with their cameras and they're taking pictures, and then they send out links to all the pictures, and that's just what they do. That's something that they're really happy to do, in fact. So look at those people, because adding motion to those still pictures isn't hard at all. In fact, some of our best video camera operators started out as still camera operators. So that's one thing that I would love for you to consider as well. Also think about youth, teens, students. These are people that probably want to help out, probably want to make a difference, but they probably think that they're too young. Well, if you train them, you can find that there are probably some really passionate individuals that you can bring along and really get them involved for not a lot of trouble at all. And you'll also find that their commitments during the week may not be as intense as an adult's. So think about that. Also consider retired people. It could be that depending on their age, they're able to do some things more than others. Some are more physically demanding, but it could be also that since they're retired, they're really looking for a way to give back and not feel like they're just relegated to the back row until they die. So really think about those people as people that you can add into your mix. So I hope that helps you. I hope that that is just something that helps you take your live stream to the next level. If you like this content, I bet you'd like my newsletter as well. And you can get that by going to trinitydigitalmedia.com/gifts. Just pick the the free gift that you'd like there, and you can get also a free subscription to my newsletter. No obligation whatsoever, and I'll just give you more tips, tricks, etc. every week. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com.